Okay, so Cecil Pineda, I had the privilege of being your, as you recall, the monitor for your room when you gave this presentation at the ISSA International in Dallas a couple of years ago. And that's when I met you, and I really liked your presentation, so I'm glad you can make it here. Cecil Pineda is Senior Director of CISO GRC at Critical Start, 21 years in IT security, cybersecurity, and data privacy, twice as a CISO, multiple times as consultant, IT auditor, data privacy analyst, vulnerability manager, and application security manager, and now working as a CISO serving multiple clients. Cecil is organizing a large CISO conference in Dallas. I want to hear more about that at the end, please. And he's currently the Senior Director and Program Leader for the CISO and Consulting Practice at Critical Start. He's also served as the CISO of Dallas Fort Worth International Airport and has held leadership positions at GameStop. I hope you kept your stock. TXU Energy, Boeing, and CVS Health. Welcome, Cecil, and I'm going to make you a co-host right now. Take your time.
Patrick, thank you. Share screen. Share my screen. Give me a second, guys. Hey, Patrick, thank you for the kind introduction. Can you hear me? I think I lost.
No, you're good.
No, Patrick is on mute.
Okay. Who can share? Let me just start sharing my screen. Okay, I have too many screens here.
It's okay. Take your time.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
Oh, Patrick, 2 years ago when you heard me speak, I had a couple of shots there. So unfortunately, I didn't have any shots. I just have a regular drink right now.
Hey, that's the type of good conference.
Yeah. I was, whenever I speak, I always try to get a couple of shots, and I notice a lot of these conferences they have their survey, and I notice I get perfect score or near perfect scores on my presentation when I get a couple of shots. So fortunately, I don't have shots around here right now. I have another meeting in an hour with the customer in Asia. So anyway, good afternoon. How long do I have, Patrick?
As long as you want, actually. We officially end in 1 hour, but take as much time as you want.
Okay.
You are sharing the presenter slide instead of the presentation as well.
Okay. Oh, give me a second.
You can swap screens.
Give me a second. I'll just share my third screen here. It's probably easier. Share screen. Desktop number 3. I have too many screens. Is that okay?
That looks great.
Well, I dropped my CISM because I forgot to renew it. I have to submit a lot of CB, so I removed my CISM there. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, I'm Cecil Pineda. I work with Critical Start. I have a short, I think I have a short slide about myself. Patrick mentioned a lot of it. Here's the agenda. Is this okay? I changed everything, Patrick. Unfortunately, the slide deck you've seen 2 years ago, I think I presented it too many times. I got tired of it, so I created a new one for you.
All good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
But a lot of the things you heard, you're gonna hear it again here, just different way. I was on a flight yesterday from Hilton Head, and I said, I'm tired of presenting this. I've presented this like 8 times, so I started writing. I had a flight delay for about 4 hours, so I have plenty of time to type this out. Very quickly about me, I work with a lot of companies. I support around 40-something customers at Critical Start. I have a couple of them as I'm their virtual CISO. 2 small companies, mid-size, 700, 800 employees. I have a small team of consultants, data privacy people, GRC. We do a lot of assessments, compliance work, a lot of data discovery, a lot of data privacy program, a lot of compliance work. We have probably out of the 40 something customer support, I would say 6, 7 of them are Fortune 500. I support them on a daily basis, some 1 hour a day, some 2 hours, some on a weekly basis. Yeah, I was very fortunate to work at the airport. I was the first CISOs, and not many, that's one of the very rare things nowadays. It's good to be the first CISO because you could actually develop a blueprint, put your stamp, build something. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations today have CISOs now, but the good thing, there's a lot of mid-sized companies who are starting to hire more CISOs. Here in the Dallas area, there's no shortage of openings. And by the way, you were discussing about opportunities. My company, our company, Critical Start, we hire between 10 to 12 people in a month regularly, from SOC analysts to developers. We develop our own software. We have our own SOAR. We have a SOC team here in Dallas, about 50 now. We're about 240, 250 today. I was employee 190 something. Before the end of the year, we should be around 300. Very fast growing company. 20% of our customers in the Fortune 500. The rest are in the mid-sized businesses. So I've been around. I started in security 21 years ago. I started my own company and started selling penetration testing, and it was very hard because in 2000 only the banks were buying penetration testing, and I had to switch to Plan B and start selling Checkpoint Firewall and Trend Micro, Network Associates product, if you remember those, CyberCop, Sidewinder, those products, ISS. So started selling and supporting them in the Philippines. So why do you want to be a CISO? So number one is really job security. I think everyone, at least in the Texas area, Dallas, Houston, and Austin, I don't know, it's probably 90. We always hear that we have a negative 3 to 5% unemployment for cybersecurity. At the CISO level, all of the CISO friends I have, and Patrick knows, I'm probably friends with about 120 of them here around Texas. I don't think there is a CISO right now that's out of job. There is I see a lot of movement. After 2 to 4 years, they start moving from one place to another. It's like a carousel. One day, CISO number one is at this company, and and 2 or 3 years later, he would go to another competitor or to another company. So there's a lot of opportunities, at least in the Dallas area. Not sure with in other places, but here there's a lot of room from engineers, analysts to the CISOs. It's really a great career aspiration. I started wanting to be a head of information security as early as like 1999, and even though cybersecurity CISO wasn't a word yet, but I wanted to be one day, and that was always been my goal. It really pays well. I know you folks from the Bay Area, the CISO pay is off the roof, but here in the Dallas area, where our housing is not as expensive as your standard of living, here the salary ranges are around 180K to probably around 400 today. But companies like Pepsi, Fossil, those Fortune 500 that are based here in the Dallas area are probably around 400 to 600. But I think the average right now around the area is about 250,000, bonus and base pay. Incidentally, a company was calling me for a CISO role, and I was surprised. It's around 300,000 in some other places. This one is in Salt Lake City, and you could work from anywhere. They just want the person to be visiting the headquarters lake at least once a month, for 2 or 3 days, and the rest work from home. There are no boring moments. I've been a CISO twice in my life, and uh, there was a person, someone joined in this call. He was a CISO, and I'm pretty sure you can easily relate. Really, no boring moments. Everything's, always something going on. There will be some quiet moments from time to time, but there's always something. And we'll discuss some of those in the next few slides. It's nice to be in charge. I always joke to my wife, guys, Patrick, Jimmy, I always joke to my wife when the second time I was a CISO, I had had the privilege to have an admin assistant, and I always joke to my wife that I said, "Hey, someone's laughing at my jokes now," and it was. I wasn't. Yeah, I
Did you
was
have
never.
funny jokes, or was it just
No,
great to
no,
laugh
I
at the
don't think
jokes?
it was funny, but because I was in charge, people are like, "Wow, this is pretty nice." People are laughing at my joke. So anyway, um, it's I would really recommend everyone. If you really love, you have a passion for cybersecurity. That's the ultimate goal, and I've been there twice. It's really fun, but you can't. It's hard to keep the job because something's gonna happen tomorrow, and if you actually are doing a really good job, you will have offers, on a weekly basis. I've been very privileged. I've developed a lot of good friends. You'll see in this presentation, some of the things what I'm doing, what I'm learning. I can tell you right now, a few weeks ago, I told I know this is recorded. I hope my boss will not be listening to the recording, but I was telling him like 2 weeks ago, hey, my old boss, like from 6, 7 years ago, wanted wanted me to be his CISO. He just joined another company as a CIO, and I think if you do your job well, I always joke with this CIO, hey, I like cleaning dirty toilets. I want the dirtiest toilet because I like to, I really want to do a good job. I want to clean it. Same in security. I want to make sure that, that's why when the opportunity for Dallas Fort Worth came about, and I said, first time CISO there, they need a first time CISO. I said, I want that job, and for the same reason, this boss of mine from 7 years ago said, hey, I would like to work for me. Hey, send me your latest resume, and uh, we'll see. So I told my boss today, 2 weeks ago, my boss at Critical Start, hey, just FYI, I love being at Critical Start, but hey, just FYI, there's some people knocking on the door. And I can tell you, if you do a really good job, even from 10, 15 years ago, people have, especially good things and even bad things. They have memory. They remember all the good things you've done for them, and it's going to, they will call you one day. My boss from 15 years ago, Patrick, I don't know if you read that article. Maybe last year I wrote an article called "Empathetic CISOs are ineffective," something like that. Question mark. Did you read that, Patrick?
No, sir. I'm interested
Um,
though.
well, you got to read that. I have a boss from 15 years ago. Oh, 16 years ago. His name is Zulfi Ahmed, and not very, social person, but very effective. One day he asked, I was having some personal challenges at home, and I told him, hey, I'm going to resign or probably take a longer leave of absence. And, this guy told me, Cecil, um, don't worry about your job. Fix your problem. Just check your email. Don't even take a PTO. And I wrote an article about him. And, since then, he moved from his job to Pepsi. He called me when he was at Pepsi. Unfortunately, I just moved to another job. I couldn't take it. He became the global CISO at MetLife, and he called me again. He said, Cecil, I got a job for you. Unfortunately, I was at DFW airport at that time, and I couldn't. It was just wrong timing, and I would work for him any day. He's a very good leader. A leader I would always follow. So anyway, I digress there. So there's another, why you should not be a CISO. And I mentor a lot of people. I think 8 right now. One of them, I had less one now. He got a job recently. He is a fresh new graduate from the local university here. One of my customer actually hired him as as a junior analyst. So now, why should not be a CISO? Why you should not be a CISO? Another same reason as the first slide. Job security. There's no job security really. People think you have, but it's really difficult to keep a job, especially if you get breached, if you get an incident, if you don't, if you're not doing your job properly. Uh, I know some people who are, were very short time CISOs, maybe 2 or 3 months, some are 4 months, and they couldn't hold onto the job, and they went back as a manager or as a as a contributor. And unfortunately, you know, probably needed time. It's really hard. The job takes a lot of, there's a lot of responsibilities, takes a lot of your time for, 40 hours is not enough. And, I've read so many articles that you could do an effective job as a CISO for 40 hours. The answer is actually yes, but it's going to take a lot of people, a lot of trusted advisors, trusted direct reports, but it's so hard. So many things are going on, so many threats. If you have the right visibility, I could tell you won't be able to sleep at night. If you're seeing all the right alerts, if your tools are all configured, if you're all, doing the right things as stated in the best practice in ISO 27000 or the NIST CSF or even the 853, it's almost like there's no time to sleep if you follow everything. So, um, yeah, if there's no, a lot of people that really want to go to cybersecurity are just after the money. I told them, if it's you're only after the money, this is not the place for you. Cybersecurity, there's, you know, it's you gotta love it. You gotta have a passion for it to be able to excel and get to be a CISO one day. And if you don't like working with people, processes, and technologies, and it's probably not for you. If you cannot work more than 40 hours, not for you. Um, yeah, I've been, even today, I still support a lot of customers. I get phone calls at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. One of the major incident I helped, I'm like steps away inside the church, and I told my wife, hey, I'm going to take the Uber and have to go to a customer and help them. They need to be online tomorrow morning. And, and of course, your family is expecting you to join them at the church and then have a nice lunch with them. And unfortunately, uh, we have to go there and, fix the problem. So, depending on your company and depending on your staffing, it could be one time a year, it could be 20, 30 times a year. So it really depends. There's a lot of things going on. If you are in charge of a Fortune 1000 and organization, expect at least 10, 15 times a year. If you cannot manage stress, cybersecurity is not for you. I've fallen to that hole so many times. One time, this is few years ago, I cannot mention the name of the company. I was managing key areas in our information security, and I was so stressed when I got to the office. I parked my car and forgot to even turn off the engine of my car, and I went to the office, went through my day. I forgot to eat lunch because I was so stressed, so much work. When I got to my car and I said, why the battery's not working and why I could, I had to manually enter and then it couldn't start. And I just realized I left it running. And that was a sign that, I have to fix, either I have to delegate more or change jobs. So of course, the first time when those kind of things happen, your first step should be talking to your manager. So that's what I did. Sorry, give me a second. And then, communication is not just to the CIO, to the upper management, but to the lower level people. And, one time, one of my staff at the airport asked me, "Hey, why you even know the name of the janitor that cleans our, IT area?" And I said, "Yeah, those guys tell you, small things. If they notice something, they observe something, they'll call me." And I think that's really important, that not just knowing your leadership, but also knowing under you and the same same level. So that is really important, and for all of course many other reasons. So my first CISO journey, hey guys, and by the way, if you get if it gets boring, please let me know, okay? So in 2000, I started my own company, and I started learning, understanding. In during that time, there was not much information on Google, on on YouTube. There's not much. You rely on books. You rely on so many things. This book, the Information Security Management Handbook, I have the fifth edition with me here. I had the second or third edition, and I think it was like $100. And $100 in the Philippines is not $100 in the Philippines. It's probably like 5 to 10 times the cost. My second book that I purchased, called Hacking Exposed by Stu McClure and uh, George Kurtz. You probably know them, founder of Silence and founder of CrowdStrike. And
No, Stu.
yeah, no, Stu is a really good guy. I'm one of the first customers of Silence. They still had the command line option 6 years ago. Um, I was one. I got them at a very good rate, but created a lot of problems because the installation is not yet straightforward, and whitelisting was a pain. But they figured it out a few months later. Um, Played with a lot of security tools. Reach out to a lot of professionals out there. A lot of these names: Jeremiah from Yahoo, then White Hat, Doug Song, Ann Arbor, Arbor Networks, Van Houser. If you don't know Van Houser, he's the creator of Hydra. And actually, in 2003, I invited Van Houser to talk to my first security conference called ManilaCon in the Philippines, and he gladly traveled. I paid for his airfare and hotel and food. He flew to the Philippines and spoke to 1,000 people that I charged $10 each to hear him talk about cybersecurity. You see all those names there. I can tell you, I pissed off some people because I was inviting them to go to the Philippines, and because I couldn't go there at DEF CON. So at that time, around 2004, 2005, there's not many CISOs. I know a few: Pepsi, GM Financials, probably like 10 people in 2005 with CISO title in the States. When I moved to the States in 2005, there's not much CISOs there. And what's funny, I still kept, this is probably like 5 years ago, I still have my bookmarks about, how to be a CISO. So interesting, huh?
Hey, you should have had the links and sent them over.
Yeah, no, some of them are dead already.
Oh, okay.
Actually, a lot of them are dead or missing. So I still have new ones. I can send you some. So my second CISO journey was the first one was a company called AVL, it's owned by Boeing. And I went from 3 people to, I don't know, 5, and then when I left, we were like 8 people. AVL is like a $4 billion company owned by Boeing. We have like 3,500 employees. Every aircraft parts and services are performed by AVL. So it's a small company based in here in Dallas that's owned by Boeing. So my second CISO journey is actually a surprise. After my work at AVL, I felt like I did a good job, but I felt I wasn't ready yet. I worked for TXU Energy as a senior manager, and then I worked for GameStop. Then I was at GameStop. One day I got a call from this guy, Dwayne Stiles. He was the CISO from GM Financial. So Dwayne, I started to become friends with him, around maybe 2010, maybe, somewhere around 2009. He was a CSO at GM Financials then. And one day he learned that I helped co-author the Boeing Global Privacy Handbook, and I said, "Hey, Cecil, could you help us? How can you develop a data privacy program?" And I said, "Yeah, I would gladly do a half-day session with your team," and I did. I sat down with his team and his legal team, and I said, "Hey, this is what I did, how I created, the data privacy program, and how can you implement it?" So I wrote a thick handbook, like, 200 pages on how to roll out, your data privacy program. So that small help, I think, and that I gave to Dwayne and his team, and from then on we became good friends. And one day he got offered the job for the DFW Airport International CISO, and unfortunately he got the job to be a CSO at a company called Globe Life Insurance here in Texas, and he recommended me. And just imagine, I wasn't even in the running, and he recommended me. And the next thing I know, I have a lunch meeting with the CIO. I presented some of the work I've done in the past, and the CIO said, "Hey, we would like to get you as our CISO." So that was really, I was very fortunate to be considered there. Unfortunately, government, the government pay is not very good, at least here in Texas. So, but I wanted to be a CISO again, so I took the job. Good thing I had a 4-month uh, uh, preparation. They wanted to hire me in December. Unfortunately, my bonus at GameStop won't be released until April 1. So I told them, "Hey, if you can wait, please wait. I would like to get my bonus, or can you pay it?" And they said, "We couldn't pay it, Cecil. It's too much. We'll wait for you." So I had a good 3 to 4 months of preparation for the airport CISO job. Unfortunately, I didn't have. I tried to research about airport cybersecurity. I couldn't get any, reference, nothing, and I was worried about, I wanna perform well. So before I got the job, I reached out to I googled and looked at LinkedIn for any CISOs for airports, and interestingly enough, only 4 airports in the U.S. at that time have CISOs, and I all reached out to them. I think LAX Anson replied, "Hey, Cecil, I'll help you." And then Denver's CISO at that time, Tim was like, "Cecil, fly in here and I'll help you." I can tell you, I'm so fortunate to have people like them helping me. Complete stranger, reach out via LinkedIn, and hey, and the first thing they told me, "Cecil, is no different than GameStop and TXU Energy, just different devices, just more IoTs, more OT, it's different. The same problem, you got, attackers, you got, users who are, not careful." And so I was able to, before I even started, I have a blueprint. And actually, I think, uh, Patrick, do you remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found a resource on the internet called Airport Cooperative Research Program, which they have a best practices of, airport cybersecurity, which is really just an extract of NIST 853. And I added some ISO component there. I added some CIS controls there. And I started, this was the final product. And, once I started to understand the organization, hey, you look at this, I need to work with MS-ISAC. I'm pretty sure some of you working in the government sector, you're very familiar with multi-state ISAC, with DHS, FBI, you could see. So I started building this, I'm a very visual guy. I don't like flipping pages. I wanted to have my program, on my big wall. I printed this in a plotter, and I had, every day I keep adding stuff, or, hey, this is not a priority. I have a different version of this while I was the CISO there. I marked them as green, yellow, and red, yellow, and blue. Red meaning it's not in place, yellow, semi, kind of kind in place, and then, blue that they're in place. So this was the framework I developed to help me guide through, the airport, managing the information security. When I started at the airport, I said, hey, I told my CEO, I will work here for 2 years. And I did. And that's what I did. I worked there for 2 years. And um, very fortunate because I I was the first CISO. It's one of those things that's not easy to find, a job today out there. A lot of them, they have some, semblance of a security program in place, and I didn't have one. So I had a big white blank slate to start with, and started painting. There's a lot of devices, like in most organizations. We get thousands of cameras, thousands of doors, the parking light system, everything is IP enabled. The life safety systems, even those runway lights are IP based. So lack of processes, like most companies, lots of people in department, but there's, the awareness is not there. There's plenty of apps, everything developed by third party, developed internally, some legacy apps that have been developed 10, 15, 20 years ago that are still running. Complex networks, I can tell you, I wish I could, draw the, picture in my head right now. It just like wires everywhere. We got switches everywhere. We got, dozens of firewalls everywhere. We have, I can tell you, it's a really large network. Some mentions, there's a wide array of risk because the airport is the size of Manhattan. Everything there's a network connectivity in almost all places. Those Starbucks those stores at the terminals, they're all connected. The airport is also serving as an ISP to them. So there's also mentality of don't fix it if it's not broken. So that's really a big problem. And probably the biggest challenge I have was the complex and lengthy procurement process. It's about 6 to 8 months. So even if it's an emergency, you can't buy it immediately. You have to go through this procurement process.
So,
And yeah.
So with the procurement process that long, how did you plan for the future?
Well, it's really difficult. When I arrived there, my budget was like few $100,000. Um, um, I do have some in the government. We have some contracts called capacity contracts. These are contracts with large companies that are like, hey, there's a pre-approved $500,000 for, for example, vendor A. You could use it. The problem is some of the more specialized security services that you need, they are not, you don't want to buy them from vendor A because they're not very good at it. Some of the companies I wanted to use are not even on the list of vendors that are on the, on the approved list. So it's really difficult. We have an incidents, from time to time, and I don't want to wait for 2 days, SLA for that company to go and respond. The problem is right now, I need, so good thing there are companies out there. Critical Start was one of them. When I was having a problem, having an incident going on, I would call, of course, my regular provider, but they said, Cecil, we can send you until tomorrow or the next couple of days. I need help that day. So I would call the people I know that I could trust who could help me. And actually, some of them, they didn't even charge me because it takes so much work to get paid, especially from a vendor who is not an accredited vendor on our list. So it was very difficult. So approach and strategy. So, I had a lot of training before DFW Airport. I worked for really large companies, CVS Health, Boeing, TXU Energy, GameStop, and I had a lot of time. Had a lot of help. One of the things I was able to accomplish here in the Dallas area is I was able to connect to to subject matter experts. I help them, they help me. Some of my customers are asking, hey, I can answer all your questions. Even if I cannot answer it, I know someone who could give you the answers. And that's been, I think, one of the most important, aspect of my career here is, uh, even tough questions that I have no answers, I could get the answers quickly in about, few minutes. A lot of the CISOs in the Dallas area are, I have their cell phones. A lot of the forensic people I trust, a lot of the malware experts that I know, I could easily, text them, call them, or, message them. I have, and at the same time, I've helped them also find their jobs. In the Dallas area, probably helped maybe 14 or 15 CISOs to find their next job. And a lot of the engineers, analysts, one of the person I'm going to talk to you about later at the end of this presentation is, I mentioned, three CISOs. One of them actually was our Solaris engineer. 10 years ago, he asked me, hey, Cecil, I want to go to security. And, you guys, I heard Edward talking about people that just click, in the beginning of this call, I think 30 minutes ago, Edward was mentioning about people that you just know that they're rock stars. And, yeah, he's quiet. The guy that I hired from the Solaris team, he's quiet, but I know he could do the job. And that's what I did. I helped him move from the Solaris team to the security team. So anyway, so yeah, I had a lot of guidance from fellow airport CISOs, not just airport CISOs, every CISOs that have been before me, been there, done a lot of things. So I had a lot of help, trust me. At the top, when, at the airport, one of the things I did was raise awareness to my leadership. And of course, you could see here at every level, I have to build the trust. I can tell you, if they don't trust you, they won't listen to you. Even if your message is very important, even if your mission is very important, if they don't trust you, you're not going to be able to, get to your goal. So
So
trust.
Cecil, sorry, I wanted to ask, what's special about an airport? I mean, it's a softball question maybe, but is it that you have to deal with the federal government and
Oh,
stuff? I mean, how many networks are there?
oh,
How many
yeah.
did you manage? I mean, things have to be segmented. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of segmentations, and the DFW is really unique. We got fire and police. It's basically a city.
Mhm.
We got everything. We got five large terminals. We got different business units. All those terminals those are really large networks. So you've you flew in there, Patrick, from your trip to the ISSA
Yeah, that's
conference.
right. That's right. I was
Yeah,
amazed
yeah.
at I got there I was flying home very early flight leaving. I was like one of the first people in the airport. And I remember the
Yeah.
bandwidth on the Wi-Fi was incredible. I was just
Yeah. I can tell you,
started.
I love working there. If they pay more, I would love to continue working there. My successor there, Royce Holden, he's doing a terrific job. I sometimes joke with him, hey, I left you a lot of mess, and we joke about it. He's a really good guy. So yeah, yeah, it's a really large networks, lots of IP enabled devices, a lot of uh, things that you don't think they're part of your network, they're part of your network. We have IoT, SCADA. On my first 2 weeks, Patrick, I joke about this, but it's a very someone drew on a touch screen on one of the TVs, touchscreen TV, you know, whoever this person is, probably the PDF viewer crashed, and he probably realized it's a touchscreen. He went and launched Notepad and wrote airport security sucks. You know, and that was my second week at the job, and I got a call from one of the terminal workers and said, Cecil, you gotta come down here. I think someone tried to hack us. And I said, don't touch it. Cecil, I need to turn it off. It's embarrassing. No, don't touch it. So when I got there, oh, you should have turned it off. It's embarrassing. It's just scribbled on the big screen. It's embarrassing. But anyway, so there's a lot of that. The airport, again, it's similar to a lot of organization, except that there's just a wide array of devices, across, name it. I think we have it there. IP enabled TVs, doors, access doors. We got cameras, IP enabled cameras. We got, sensors, HVAC, lighting, the runway lights, everything, the sky bridges, all of those, they're in some form or fashion, they're connected to the network. So, so at the top, one of the things, I think this is the most important part of my presentation. My CEO at the airport was my biggest cheerleader. I can tell you, his name is Sean Donahue. I couldn't find my selfie with him. Really great guy, really good leader. I will follow him anytime. This guy, in the beginning, of course, I was, doing a quarterly meeting with him, and I can tell you, on my second year, he was the biggest cheerleader. Whenever there's a town hall opportunity, he would talk about cybersecurity first, because he understands the risk. The airport is really technology reliant, and and if we get breached or attacked, a lot of our operations will not be able to continue if we are, if we're under attack. So monthly and quarterlies, I had meetings with the CIO, I had meetings with the CFO, and I have meetings with our CEO, I think twice a year or quarterly. I really forgot. But one of the things I also did at that place is I started extending security outside my security team. Most CIOs like to own everything. You know what I did? I didn't want to own everything. I want to own the overall cyber risk, but like I gave it to the VP of Finance. I said, "Hey, where I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your custodian for PCI data, but I want you to own. You're going to be the PCI data steward." And he agreed. I went to HR and I told them, "Hey, I don't want to own PHI data and PII data. You need to own it. You need to own HR data." And that's what we did. And then for cyber risk, I made sure that I work with our enterprise risk team. My cyber risks are reported through the enterprise risk, and that is reported to the board level. So I get visibility at the top. So I think that, was very proud of those things that I've done there, being able to extend that, security outside my group. So in the middle, I did a lot of partnerships. I joined department meetings. They invited me to their town hall meetings. Just imagine the airport. There's a lot of people. Some of my department meetings were like 300 people. Unfortunately, I was on the job. I couldn't take a couple of shots of vodka. But it was really, nice to be able to tell them, the best practices, how they can, help me reduce my risk. I can tell you, awareness was really key in reducing our risk, because I was able to communicate down the line, not just to the manager, but down the line, even to the people in the terminal. I told them, "Hey, if you see something hook on one of those network jacks, report it. A suspicious device trying to connect to one of our network ports, report it immediately." So at the bottom, awareness again, and building trust. I did a seminar. Actually, I organized our first DFW cybersecurity conference. We had 2 sessions because that room could only accommodate maybe a couple of hundred people. So we did 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Some of the key people, we had guests. This guy here in the suit is actually from the FBI. He didn't want a selfie with me, and for obvious reason, he's my first call. If there's something happening at the airport, cyber related, he's always my first call. So he spoke at my event, and it was a really good one-day event. I was able to bring in the people, talk about best practices. As I mentioned, I expanded the security team. We hired more people and worked with different teams. I made sure that the software development team are very aware of secure coding. I didn't want that responsibility. I want them to be responsible for their secure coding, for their, running code testing, running source, SAS and DAST on their applications. And then, of course, partnered with, key third parties. There's a lot of challenges there. That's not me, by the way. Just took it from Pixabay. I encountered too many roadblocks, complaints, and challenges, and you won't see this in my presentation, but it was really difficult, especially for a company that an organization that security is not part of that culture yet. 60-hour work week was the norm. I work around 10 hours a day, and then maybe a few hours on Saturday, and my Monday starts on Sunday night. So it was very difficult. Lots of sleepless nights, a lot of weekend work. There's too much stress. I think I lost like 15 pounds over the course of 2 years there. It was actually good, for my wife, but health wise, it wasn't good. I'm missing lunches and dinners. Uh, I'm waking up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I'm actually dreaming about, having an incident, which is really awful because in real life you have incident and then on your sleep you're still having incident. So uh, didn't exercise much. My doctor really, told me it was really you know, she said, hey, I think it's time to find the next job. So at that time, security at the airport was in a better place and it was time to go. I didn't have any work-life balance, unfortunately, because that's really the key. That's really the difficulty. Company without, starting from scratch, you will have to do a lot of things. Unlike some other companies, if I work for another company now, there is something in place, and I'll just be able to improve upon it. So I don't have to work, 60 hours every week if there's a program in place. But it was my choice. I wasn't forced by the airport. I really want to improve our posture, and I really want to do a good job, and I want to be able to live in a very good way where I left them in a very good place. So, um, outcomes, when I started, our score was like 20 out of 100, and I think the if I when I left, either it was 69 or 79 when I left there, and I left a written program handbook. So I said, hey, I know it's gonna take a while before you hire my replacement, and actually wrote a the program so they could continue working on that program when I left the building. So I think I helped improve cybersecurity and data privacy culture within the environment, in IT and other places there. I think the teamwork improved. We started with 6 people, and by the time I left, they also gave me document management. The time I left, there were like 20 plus people in my team. So the CEO was my biggest sponsor of cybersecurity there. We integrated with our emergency operations center when there's fire, there's an emergency at the airport. Cybersecurity is now part of that incident response process now, not just separate cyber for all types of emergencies. We are all going to the EOC facility there and following the process that we built to in order to respond to. And actually, I have some of our tabletop exercise. Um, you know, um, I became more religious and superstitious. You will not believe this. I started going back to church, and I can tell you, I started praying again, and because I wanted, again, some of you, probably not very religious. I go to church because my wife and my parents want me to go, but I went really back. One day it was like Ash Wednesday, and I went home with an ash on my forehead, and my wife said, "What's happening with you? Are you sick or something?" So yeah, I was I became also superstitious, which is really funny. I'm not very superstitious, but I started becoming superstitious. One day I was wearing my socks on the left side, and my shoes started left. I usually 99.99% I start on the right, and that day we had some major issue, and from then on I would wear my socks and my shoes first on the right before the left. So even I know it's kind of crazy, but I did became superstitious and religious. Um, when I left, when I was about to leave the airport, and this was really, very heartwarming. I gave my notice in December and gave them 30 days. I could tell you, my office, even the people that I work with, initially they didn't, they were not my biggest fan when I started, They went to my office crying. My CFO would go to my office and ask me, hey, Cecil, I would go here and kneel every day just for you to change your mind. And I did change my mind eventually, but it was, my kids are going to college, and Oklahoma and TCU are not exactly cheap schools. So um, I had to leave, and I eventually, resigned again. I left on my second year anniversary, exactly on the day I started. So I had a complete 2 year, work there. Patrick, am I doing okay, or do you want me to stop?
No, I think you're doing great. I'm kind of following it like a story.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
That's what I remember about your presentation earlier. What I liked about it so much, I think it's I can really imagine.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah. So again, a lot of you guys, some of you are CISOs now, and some of you want to be. It's just too many cyber risks. If you're following the right people on Twitter and the right people on LinkedIn, it's just almost on a daily basis. There's something going on. It's so hard. You can't stop. There's no an end goal for cybersecurity. There's always something going on. You have to adapt to this new types of attacks every day. The next breach or major incident is just around the corner, or you don't know, it could be happening or happened already. You just don't know it. And this is very typical for organizations with very limited tools. If you don't see anything, don't assume there's nothing wrong. There's something going on. You just don't see it. And we started seeing things when we turn off our tools. When you get the right tools, right configurations, and most 9 out of 10 CISOs would focus on the critical alerts. I think that's wrong. A lot of the more impactful incidents, they are under the radar. They're the low and medium alerts. So those are the things that you need to actually be worried, because uh, good attackers, they'll be under the radar. They won't let you know that they're knocking on your door. So too many devices. If you're not involved, or at least involved in your asset procurement, not just hardware but software development, they introduce so much to your environment. Everything that they add to your network, it adds another potential SolarWinds or Kaseya incident. It's so hard not to be able to, you can buy 100% secure products. One of them may be embedded with a backdoor. So it's hard. You have to be involved in your vendor risk management. A lot of companies that I work today, one company actually told us, Cecil, we need your help. We need to review 287 products and services that we procured in the last year alone. We want to go back, and I want you to go deeper, one level more technical. I want you to go and see if they could be a problem for us. This is a Fortune 10 company. So, too many devices with access to the corporate network, and many of those devices are now remote. There's a lot of challenges there. Patching alone, you can't deploy your patches, with all the people with their limited bandwidth at their home. So there's a lot of challenges today. Some of the services that we do today, a lot of companies are starting to buy data discovery services. Many years ago, I started a project at one company that I work with, and my project was to data discovery, look for any credit card data. And we thought we have 400, maybe 700,000 credit card. We have millions of credit card that we were able to discover by some of the tools. They're not even cutting edge tools. Many years ago, we didn't have the data discovery tools that are available today, that are commercially available today. Many years ago, a lot of these tools they didn't exist. You have to use Spider, open source, and some other tools that are designed for another use, and we converted them to run as run as a data discovery tool. So um, a lot of companies today, they think they know where their data is. 9 out of 10, they're probably know only 10 or 20% of their data. There's a lot of dark data exists in a lot of companies today that they don't know of. Companies always replicate data. Developers don't tell everyone that they're using live data from production, and they use it in the development because they want actual data, and that's not a good practice. We perform a lot of assessments and audits, and this line item here, too many users with excessive access. I can tell you, 9 out of 10 companies, there's a lot of organization with excessive access, excessive permissions. There's too many unknowns in most organizations. If you have not done any asset, asset discovery, if you have not done any data discovery, I can tell you there's a lot of things you don't know. So many unknowns today. And lastly, lack of budget. It's really hard. Um, I was very fortunate to work for an organization where once I was able to present the problem, I was able to get 10 times the, 10 times my budget from previous year. So it is hard, but one of the things that you'll probably hear, you'll hear from me on the next few slides is be able to communicate at the business level with your leadership. Because if you talk about the technical, using technical terms, no one's going to listen to you. Yeah, for aspiring CISOs, the basics, really right foundations, systems administration, software development, network engineering, project management. I can tell you, don't have to be in IT. Being a CISO today is more of a, business leadership than a technical leadership. But understanding technical threats, understanding technical capabilities is really important. So I'm on the camp of having technical background, but I've seen some people with, some CISOs today that with very limited technical background and were able to do a very good job as a CISO today. One of the person I'm going to present to you later is actually was a ballerina, professional ballerina, and she moved to IT. And just imagine, uh, technology, not just for cybersecurity tools, everything, data, applications, operating systems, browsers, APIs, database, everything in the technology stack, you need to be very familiar with. You don't have to be a master, but you gotta be very familiar with all of these things, because someday, you're gonna be invited to discuss about APIs and, and SDKs, how to secure those. So you gotta be able to have a good understanding of all these technology stack. Compliance regulations is very important to be a CISO today. I think you don't have to memorize line by line, but being able to know what are the basic requirements of all of these requirements, you should be able to, understand them, not memorize them. Of course, best practice is always there. There's a lot of frameworks out there. There's no shortage of frameworks. So yeah, being able to be familiar with, a couple of them, some of them will be really good for you. And of course, being able to understand threats and risk, being able to, be in the forefront of those technologies, those threats. By far, Twitter is still, I know there's so much noise on Twitter, but a lot of the hackers or attackers that you want to follow are all there. They are going to publish it first there. They're going to announce it first before it gets to LinkedIn or other places.
So Cecil, I just want to give you a 10-minute warning. I said you had as much time as you want. I kind of lied a little. A lot of people are gonna. Most people might have to drop at 6.
No worries.
But we can stay on. But I wanted to leave some time for question and answer if anyone had.
No problem. I have three.
It's going great. Sure.
3 slides left.
You're doing great.
Left. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, aspiring CISOs experience is really key. I think managing people, teams, and conflicts is really important. Managing up is very important, especially with your executives. They hold your budget. they dictate the pace at the leadership at the company level. It's really good to be partnering with them rather than saying no to them. Shifting left, this is my favorite part. Don't start security on the right side. It's all too late. When the product is already done, when everything is in place, you start at the development stage, you start at the hiring stage. You build security when you're developing the product, when you're building the network, you're hiring people. You got to start on the left, because when you start on the left, the cost is a lot cheaper, when you put security at the beginning stage rather than at the end. I think it's very important. Storytelling is really key. Um, I think being able to work in cybersecurity for this long, I wasn't a natural. I had to learn from my leaders, from other people. I've asked mentors, I've listened to them. Whenever we have meetings, I always look everything from the language, the eye contact, the body language, and how you communicate it to the right people, to the right audience. It's really important that you adjust the tone, according to your audience. So this is the difficult part at the beginning stage of my career, is converting technical to business terms. When you're reporting to the CIO, not all CIOs is very technical, especially when you go move to a CFO, then you move to the CEO or to the board. You gotta adjust the level of communications, to talk in business terms rather than technical terms. What else? I think can't stop learning. YouTube, there's so much resources right now. You saw, Patrick, you saw my Spotify podcast list there. There's a lot of things you could follow on Spotify. You don't have time. There's too much information out there, and a lot of them are very useful.
Well, I just wanted to plug your LinkedIn presence, because you seem to have something every day, pictures of groups of people and fun lunches, and I think that's really effective, and it keeps me coming back to LinkedIn. I like your content a lot. I think it's great.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I do a lot of those seminars, lunch and learns, dinners. Some of them we don't even talk about security. We just eat and chat. And so now this is very important. People think, I have several mentees that I help, and they think connecting to them adds that to that network. It's not. It's just a connection. You gotta have a better, more deeper relationship with them. Have lunch with them, have coffee. In the beginning of my career, I spent considerable amount of money and time to spend time with leaders, and not just leaders, people underneath you. Some people that I work with today are people that are way below my job grade. They are engineers and analysts. You'll never know. One of them will be a CISO one day, or a CIO one day. Some of the folks that are calling me today are now CIOs, and few years ago they were project managers or engineers, and now they've moved up the ladder. And fortunately for me, working for a service provider like Critical Stat, it helps me being able to connect to these people. They call me now instead of me calling them. I don't even call them anymore. They start calling me. Hey, I need a risk assessment. Hey, I need ISO 27001 certification. Hey, I need data discovery. So those things help, and not just leaders, but network with everyone, even even the good guys and the bad guys. Yeah, work with some lawyers, auditors, network engineers. Expand your network. It's good to network with everyone. Probably salespeople, especially at your level. If that's probably the only. You're not gonna avoid them because you may need their help one day, but there's a lot of people that you can connect on LinkedIn that will probably help you in the future. So, of course, giving back is, I'm big on this. You heard about my CISOXC.com conference coming up. We're giving $25,000 to Salvation Army for after that conference. We were able to raise a lot of money. Once I announced that conference, in 4 weeks, I think we got like 29 sponsors. There's like 8 companies on the waiting list wanting to sponsor. So give back, help someone in needs, help someone who wants to go to be an engineer, help kids. I have 3 mentees that are cybersecurity students right now. So most important, have fun. There's a lot of, it's hard work, but it's actually quite fun, in cybersecurity. So, yeah, the 3 ladies, these 3 ladies are 3 of the famous CISOs in the Dallas area. They're all coming from different backgrounds and very successful. They came from different, path. And now they're all my good friends, and they're all CISOs of 3 large companies. So here's I think my last slide. Just want to share to you, every CISO has a different, path. And the first one, this person, just imagine, I think 5-6 years now in experience, documentation. She's very good with documentation, with GRC. She's a very, very good leader. Look, she started as a professional ballerina, IT consultant, IT communications and training, then, eventually becoming a CISO. Number 2 is actually a person that I work with, and he's now a customer of mine. And, 10 years ago, he said, hey, Cecil, I want to go to security. And, Solaris, why not? He went to work and started being in my GRC team. And you could see the progression of his career just in the last 10 years. And, being able to move from a security, from a Unix engineer to a CISO. And the last person here is actually, he is now a CISO at one of my former companies. And, just the last 8 years, before being in security, he was a desktop support guy, became an IT analyst, IT security engineers, IT security manager, and eventually becoming a CISO. So anyway, I know we ran out of time. So I think that's it. Patrick and company, thanks for listening to me, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna stop the recording now so people can feel free to talk and ask questions. And if you're listening or watching this on YouTube right now, one of the benefits from attending these meetings is these after parties, right?